Today, the world generates about 1.3 billion tons of waste annually. Now, this is projected by the World Bank to be in the range of 2.2 billion by 2025. Of this, Africa claims about 75 million tons, and 40% of that goes to Nigeria. A huge waste, one might say, but it's not necessarily a bad thing for the economy. That's only when the right approach is employed. And that's where waste to wealth comes in. Let's see how far Nigeria has gone on waste to wealth. You're welcome to Big Story. I'm Amy Thompson. Heaps, and heaps of rubbish. That's what some people see in this. However, innovation and technology has changed that mindset for many others. And so the site of what might have been called waste is now resources and employment opportunities. That's why, as the World Bank has projected an increase in waste generation, it has also projected a raise in the annual global cost from $205 billion used for 1.3 billion tons of annual waste to $375 billion for 2.2 billion tons, which should be the generation by 2025. This increase is connected to rising disposable income, urbanization, and other factors.
Waste is a byproduct of human activity. Wherever you have dynamism and in the process of living and the human activity, then the byproduct is waste. It is only when you have an inert environment that nothing is called waste, because there will not be byproduct. Byproduct is called waste. So once you have an increase in population, increase in commercial activities, and it's a measure of affluence and is an indicator of life in itself. So there must be waste. It just must come.
In Nigeria, however, there's still the need for the definition of what waste is and should be.
It's a descriptive word. It is not a noun per se, right? And it's a descriptive word to qualify a discarded resource from a particular position within a time frame. Any material that you're discarding from point A to B can be regarded by you as a waste. It must move from point A to point B, all right? And that point B is where you can add value to that waste. So if waste is discarded at point A and is not evacuated to point B, then it becomes a nuisance. It will start restricting you. It will constrict your own flow all the same, and it can be a form of epidemic.
The collation of waste goes to rural, urban, and industrial areas of the country. Markets, especially where abattoirs exist, factories and households very well included. In Lagos State, the agency in charge of enforcing laws to protect the environment, that's the Lagos State Environment Protection Agency, LASEPA, complains that their work has not been that easy because of the attitude of many residents.
We should show love to the environment. People are not even showing love to the environment at all. They will put their waste in the public drains. They will throw their waste anyhow. When the state government has provided you with PSP operators to cut away your waste, and you still continue doing the old waste. We are here for change, and we must change.
The setback is not with the citizens only. Planning on the part of the government may not be all-encompassing after all.
Where probably you require, if you have done the right studies, probably you should have deployed maybe about 100 trucks. You now have 10 trucks. What do you want to do with that? And they'll just tell you that somebody said we should buy 10 trucks. But what you generate every day shows that you should buy 100 trucks. And if you're not buying 100 trucks, you must be able to create a platform where you have either the private investors to come with your trucks and do this thing and that. So there are several solutions and there are several options to make sure you get the trucks, and not just trucks, the appropriate equipment that are meant for this waste. We get to some states where they start using tippers. Tippers are expected to collect dense materials. Waste are not dense materials, they are light. All right, tippers are supposed to collect probably granite gravels with a high density, and you're now using that to collect a low density material. So you are underutilizing the equipment you deploy. So the operation cost becomes so very high, and you are not operating efficiently well.
Anambra State government has also prioritized dealing with waste from the point of collation, although the system employed before now has not yielded expected results.
Before I came, it was only Laga trying to manage all of that place, and it wasn't working. So we segmented it and challenged the people to pursue. And I don't take no for an answer when it comes to getting things done. And I made sure that they know what they're doing. The same thing we've done at Navy. We have 2 contractors that are handling that area, same as in Idemili and other major towns around the state. The local government structure is also assisting in taking care of the villages, that fall under them, with some support from the state. Some of the vehicles that we leased from Innocent are also being used to tidy up those areas. So I must tell you that we are working very hard in environment cleaning in Anambra State. You may still see here and there little heaps of garbage based on some challenges we had with one of the contractors.
The efforts to create a more organized system for the collation of waste has in some cases clashed with some individuals' livelihood, as is the situation in Edo State when the government outlawed the business of cart pushers who earn their living by collating waste from homes and small businesses areas and dispose them in private dump sites.
When they arrested the past 15, yeah, so we manage build 10, 2 nangs there, and we don't know what to do. Fear now, almost 3 weeks now, we cannot go and find 1 naira because of the fear. So please, that's why we say let us come and cry to our Father. May He help us for this situation. May He find the office when He do this thing, because we don't know them. I believe that our Father will know them. This drop, many of us, if we are family men, we use it to take care of our family for school and whatever. Many of us have voters card here. We dey vote for election or whatever. We dey support the governor.
That Friday when they catch them, last Friday, we don't see them. Their family, they come. We don't greet them and say, see where they dey. Because we don't feel talk so. We dey cater in one way or another. We never see the people. We believe, say, by coming to our Father of Shomole, He will help us.
Chairman of Edo State Task Force insists that the decision was reached after careful considerations.
If you look around the city, you will see pockets of illegal dump sites here and there. And this is the result of these truck pushers. By the time the truck pusher evacuates refuse from one house, before he pushes it within 4 or 5 streets, you and I know you will be tired. What do? They evacuate this refuse to either an open field, or maybe an open plot, or an uncompleted building, or inside a moat, or you have them dumping it inside the stormwater project. This office does not collect 1 naira from anybody. If you are found guilty that you are supposed to pay money, if it's an offense that carries fine in the court, you don't pay to us, you pay to the government Nigeria. But in the case of the cart pushers, we don't collect money.
Other states still have these challenges, and this doesn't give Nigeria any pass mark in the matter, as it seems plans are coming rather late.
You still have this problem prevalent all over. You see government and people running behind the waste that has been generated, whereas you're supposed to stay ahead of that waste. You're supposed to be able to project the population. It's a function of population and the extent of your activities, commercial and industrial activities. So these are definitive values that you can put figures on, and their social index that gives you the projections. Their baselines, for example, in Nigeria, you can easily extrapolate 0.5 kilogram of waste per person per day. So once you have an idea about the population of a place, then you can actually project what to expect, plus or minus 10-50%. But you can, the error margin is tolerable in your planning frame, and you factor in that error margin also in the planning.
While the state government is trying to catch up, these resources are demanded by other countries and are exported.
For now, we are exporting because we don't still have enough facility to take us to the end product. So what we do, we process to a stage, then the processed product has been exported to China especially, but the Chinese are coming to the industry seriously. So the recycler in Nigeria only process to a stage, then after the processing, then we export out of the country. Waste management today, Lagos said worth about $200 million. So you can even look at this facility, you need to see the investment involved. So this will take over from even the advanced country now. Even today, if you go to some European country, they are even importing waste from the neighboring country to power their power generation and so on. So the same thing we can do away with the oil sector and concentrate on this recycling.
ChannelsTV.com is your most trusted news website, using responsive design for a richer user experience. Get the latest information as it happens: politics, sports, business, entertainment, health, and more. Access our content on all our social media platforms. To access the world, you only need ChannelsTV.com. The news at your fingertips.
In 1999, the Lagos state government turned its attention to waste to wealth program, and the name implies mostly solid waste is through this program supposed to be recycled into various products, including clean energy, which will solve a part of the challenge of power for industries.
Many of them use heavy machineries that requires a lot of current, and the solar will not be an efficient system to produce this, to run this machinery. So in this case, they need the diesel. But rather than using the fossil diesel, we have devised to use renewable sources of diesel, such as the biodiesel, which we get from plants. And these are more eco-friendly. They do not contain sulfur like the fossil diesels, and they do not emit all this sulfuric gas, or they do not leave precipitates in the engines of your machine, so reducing maintenance costs.
Good enough, even the waste from this process can again be recycled.
What we do is we recycle waste oil, which is your lubricant oil. Before now, there were no such facilities in Nigeria. However, we're fortunate to have an agency that has a zero appreciation of unscrupulous waste disposal. And this is premised on the fact that there is so much environmental degradation due to this disposal of waste oil. And in line with the agency, we are actually accredited consultants with the agency to provide in the technology. What we do is we recycle. Now, there are different processes to waste oil management. One is the collection, which is the exclusive domain of the agency. That's the Lagos State Environmental Protection Agency. There's also the provision of collection centers, which is the safe collection and handling and storage of waste oil. This has to be solely managed by the agency as well. What we do is we recycle the waste oil when it is made available.
Major solid wastes are processed at Material Recovery Facility 1 in Igondo area of Lagos. Armed with this open space, which used to be a dump site, Lolade Oresoye and Paul O'Callaghan have joint resources to operate recycling plants. Trucks with waste from the area have directives to dislodge here.
Okay, so we take waste from all the local area around here, which is roughly from Badagry, Apapa, all the way up to the border with Ogun State. And at the moment, we're taking about 100, 125 tons, metric tons a day. We can probably go up to about 200 metric tons a day. But that's the household waste. So it's all the PSPs come to us directly. So rather than go to landfill, they come here and they dump here, and we take out what they call the valuable fraction, which is all the recyclable material, such as PET, pure water nylon sachets, metals, and so on and so on. And we actually sell that back into industry for further processing as their feedstock.
Once the trucks arrive, they are placed on the weighbridge before the sorting process begins. It's basically to separate the organic and inorganic materials.
The sort of materials that can be recycled. And those materials include your plastics, your metals, your paper, your carton, bottles, you name it, and we will process for recycling here.
The major machine is the MRS.
The waste that when it goes on the line is that it goes on our conveyor belts, and the organics are already out, they are below 50 mil. So the inorganics, which are like recyclables and non-recyclable fractions of inorganic waste, goes on our picking line. And on our picking line, we have physically people that would manually sort them into the fractions, into paper, into metals, as you can see, into the can, aluminium can, and all that. Even nylon has different fractions. Plastics, your household plastics that we use to wash our plates at home, they have different fractions. So we sort all those and we bring them into our batching plant, which is just right here behind you, and we compress them or we crush them for the recycling industry.
After the sorting, plastics and the likes are packaged on the one hand into bundles and transported to factories for further processing and reuse. This recovery facility has, however, delved into a little of the processing, and so although on a small scale, the plastics are shredded into various sizes to make it easier for recycling. The management here also says there are plans for waste to energy in the nearest future.
That inorganic is divided into the recyclable inorganic and the non-recyclable but highly combustible inorganics, which are like the thick plastics that cannot be recycled again, the nylons, the wood and all that. All those can be converted into what you call your refuse-derived fuel, which you can use to generate energy. It's our goal that by 2018, end of 2018, Alimosho General Hospital and Lagos State University and the last way Gondo Road will be lighted by electricity generated from the inorganic fraction of the waste from the West Africa Energy site here.
The program prides itself as a strategic empowerment for women. So, out of about 350 workers here, 72% of them are women.
We would engage them, we would tell them on this PET shredding and crushing line, on this pure water recycling line, and convert it into poly bags for reuse, convert into color-coded bags for recycling at all. That is our target, and that's what we want to achieve.
In spite of how impressive this sounds, experts say more can still be done with waste.
This waste can actually be converted to generate either biogas, which can be used for cooking, you clean it up and use it for cooking, or the same biogas can be converted to turn, turbines to generate electricity, and you can generate several megawatts of electricity.
Stay connected to the world with the Channels TV app for mobile to get all the stories around the world available on Android, iOS and Windows phones. Tap the expertise you trust. Touch the stories that touch you. Anytime, anywhere. Channels TV app for mobile. The news at your fingertips. Numerous analyses show how the Waste to Wealth program is a win-win approach that should be embraced. However, so far, a lot is yet to be seen in Nigeria. Perhaps the reason could be that efforts have mainly been done on the state level.
Needs to do something through the Federal Ministry of the Environment. And I think, I believe the Federal Ministry of Environment is considering something in that direction. All right, I think I'm aware of that. The Federal Ministry of the Environment has been talking about having the national policy on sanitation matters, on waste management in particular. And I think that's the starting point. When we have the national direction, then from the national direction, we can have the national baselines, establish the baselines and the benchmarks all over the nation. Then we can now ascribe core competencies in different regions of the state or of the nation for conversion purposes, looking at the market potentials and what they can do. Then I think the national government can provide a technical assistance that is required. Most of the states, like we said, yes, they may not have the expertise, but we have people that are ready to work, that are willing to work. You can see I saw one governor one day getting so frustrated, almost picking refuse on the road himself. That tells you, yes, the political will is there for many people, but the directions are not clear. And I think the national government needs to show the direction. We need to show that this is time. The time is now when the states needs the government, the national government, to show them direction of what to do. And I think the national government needs to help the state to develop that regulatory instrument. All right, waste management is on the, I think it's on the concurrent list under the, not just residuals, on the concurrent list, on the constitution. All right, though the local government has residual functions on it, but what the national government needs to do right now, and I think the time is now, is to give that direction, the policy directions, then the technical assistance in form of regulation, regulatory instruments, developing the baselines, give these states the information about the data that they don't have. The federal government needs to collect data. We need to place our hand on the exact value of waste that is generated in the nation on daily basis and an annual basis. We need to know. Oyo State, you need this. Lagos, you need this. Anambra, you need this. Kano, you need this. Kaduna, you need this. Let the state work from that platform. And the waste conversion projects too. investors that want to invest in Nigeria needs to have a dashboard they can key into. Agencies also. They run through bilateral and the multilateral agreement. And what they want to do is to key into the sovereign power of the nation. So to be able to come in and invest. So we need to speak the language the globe, the world understands. And we don't need to close our doors. When it comes to sanitation issue, it's a global thing. It's a global trend.
To further encourage investors, experts have asked for laws to protect the product from recycled waste.
From our interaction with them, they say there's no level playing field, they won't come in. If government doesn't enforce, they will be investing money to do it rightly. Some are not investing, they get cheap, so they will be disadvantaged. So that's why a lot of investors want to come into Nigeria, to come and recycle waste, not only e-waste, even battery and all that. But let's make sure our laws are in place, they are in shape, and NESRA is empowered to enforce. The ministry too is empowered to put in the right policy. NESRA, they are babies of the ministry. So parents and children will give us the leadership we need and ensure sustainable production and consumption. So if we do that, we also need something missing. You need a law that will legitimize use of recycled products. In developed countries, if you get a mail from UK or they will say this paper is produced or used or recycled paper because there's a government policy. If government doesn't put policy in place, people will take it and nobody will touch it. And government has to lead by example. Let all be using recycled paper. All the toilet roll we are using is from all the waste paper, newspaper. There are people going around house, they say, do you have newspaper? You give it to them, they go and sell to companies that recycle. So there's a lot, it's a billion-dollar industry which have not yet tapped into.
It's good for health, it's good for good money, nothing to lose in the Waste to Wealth program. Even you can be a part of it. Talk to us on Big Story. Thank you for watching. I'm Ini Thompson.